In Mahabharat, there is this episode where the Pandavas meet Yaksha, and there was one question which the Yaksha asked to Yudhishthir Maharaj, and Yudhishthir Maharaj answers that very beautifully. The question that was asked by Yaksha was, Snanam cha kim param proktam. Snanam cha kim param proktam. Which is the best kind of bath. So this is summertime. I mean, I'm sure all of you will be taking baths, maybe in a day multiple times. In my college days, I used to remember there used to be a few batchmates of mine who used to take pride in not taking bath for as many days as possible. Okay. So then how do they survive? Well, they used to have nice perfume and dew, and that's how they used to do. And they will say 30 days, whatever. I don't want to say the number, but you can think in your mind. So the answer to this question, Snanam chakim param proktam, Yudhishthir Maharaj says, Snanam mano malatyagam. That kind of bath is the best, is the highest, which purifies our mind and consciousness of all the contaminations. Snanam mano malatyagam. Cleansing of our mind, the impure mind, and the impure contaminated consciousness. And that happens on festival like this when we come and hear both in the morning and the evening. So wonderful it is. So, on this divine appearance day of Lord Narasimha, as per Tithi and time, it seems in another another half an hour, 8:30 is when actually the Lord appeared, like breaking out from the pillar. So in the morning, I was talking about this concept of fear, and we spoke about how Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu are born out of the inauspicious desires by the curse of the four Kumaras, whereas Prahlad Maharaj is born of the auspicious desire by the blessing of Narad Muni. So the blessing of Vaishnavas can take us very far. Blessing literally need not have to come physically. It's the pleasing the Vaishnavas. We also saw that how Narasimha appears to vanquish the fear, in order to vanquish the great fears of the demigods. And it is not just the fierce or the scary, fearful, mighty emperor of the world, the tyrant Hiranyakashipu, not for him. It is to vanquish the fears in the hearts of the demigods. And we also saw in one of the purports where Prabhupada mentions every one of us are fearful. Every one of us. If not fear, there is anxiety. Anxiety is supposed to be the cousin brother of fear. And we are always fearful and anxious. But the difference between the demigods and the people in the Martyaloka, which we saw, is that the demigods approach the authority. The difference between the demigods and ordinary human beings is that the demigods approach authority, whereas the inhabitants of this earth defy authority. If people would only approach the authority, then every adverse condition in this universe could be rectified. If you recall, in our morning Bhagavatam class, few days back, maybe few months back, we had this verse by Arjuna, where the Brahmastra was released by Aswathama, where he says, Krishna Krishna Mahabaho. Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Twamayika Dahyamananam no. Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayankara. Who said that? Yeah. Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayankara. Because the Lord can give us that fearlessness. Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayankara Twameka Dahyamananam Apavargosi Samshrite. He can give us liberation. Actually, this is the whole principle of our devotional life. If you really want to protect your spiritual life, if you want to be fearless, always consult. Tvameka dahyamananam apavargosi samshate. For Arjuna, it was Krishna. For all of us, it is the beautiful system established by Srila Prabhupada. We should take advantage of. You will actually be fearless. Or in few verses later, when Uttara prays, Pahi Pahi Mahayogin, Pahi Pahi Mahayogin, Deva Deva Jagatpate. Apart from you, I don't see anybody who can give fearlessness. That's the next line. The same principle. The difference between the demigods and ordinary human beings is that the demigods approach authority, whereas the inhabitants of this earth defy authority. If people would only approach the authority, then every adverse condition in this universe could be rectified. And that is the cause of the fear which we've been seeing. And we saw this verse, Bhayaditya Abhiniveshataha. And how to overcome fear also we saw. The royal road to come out of fear also we saw. I did mention about this austerity performed by Hiranyakashipu for 60,000 years. Mind you, he was standing on his toes, right, for 60,000 years, severe austerity. The harshness of the weather could not deter him. But the soft-hearted Prahlad, his becoming a devotee, affected his ego. This is the whole point. So the ego of Hiranyakashipu was so much. He could not bear that his own son, just little 5-year-old boy, has become a devotee. Very interestingly, before I proceed further, I just want to share, because there are multiple things to share, but whatever is coming, what Krishna is inspiring, I'm just trying to say. Does anybody know who Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu are? Jaya Vijaya, right? So, interestingly, it's not working. Okay, it doesn't work, doesn't matter. Jaya Vijaya were in Satya Yuga. Who were they in Tretaya Yuga? Sorry, Jaya Vijaya were the original ones. They were Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu in Satya Yuga. And they were Ravana and Kumbhakarna in Tretaya Yuga. And in Dwapara Yuga, Shishupala and Dantavakra. Now, do you know who all they represent? Who, Dantavakra, what does he represent? How many enemies we have inside? 6 enemies. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. So each of these 6 people, each of these demons, they represent one of them. Anybody knows who Dantavakra represents? We are starting with the last one that we said. Okay, Dantavakra represents anger. Shishupal represents envy. Shishupal represents envy. Ravana represents lust. What is this guy? Kumbhakarna represents illusion, ignorance, right? It's sleeping. Hiranyaksha represents greed. He wanted to have the whole earth. What does Hiranyakashipu represent? Which one? Kam? No, Kam is gone. Ravana. Huh? That's the one which is remaining. There's one remaining. Pride. Pride. Hiranyakashipu represents pride. If you have to remember this, you remember this acronym GAP, live. So there is a gap between me and Krishna if you have these enemies. GAP, G stands for greed, A stands for anger, P stands for pride, L stands for lust, I stands for ignorance, live, V stands for, E stands for, what is the V? Sorry, gap lies. I'm sorry, gap lie. There are 6 only. Gap, lie. So E stands for envy. Gap, lie. So if you remember that there is a gap which is lying between me and Krishna because of the 6 enemies. And Hiranyakashipu especially represents pride. That is what I was telling in the morning, that the platform of pride is most difficult to balance, the false ego. And we saw this is immaturity in spiritual knowledge comes out in this way. Pride in one's spiritual knowledge. One speaks the truth, but without having the right kind of grace. Has grace, but doesn't have the guts to speak the truth. Tell others how mature he is, and spiritual immaturity leads to judge others. Now we will go further. So this is a verse which the demigods are praying to Brahma out of fear. Tavasanam dvijagabham parameshtyam jagatpate bhavaya shreyase bhutaya kshemaya vijayaya cha. So what should be an administrator? What should he be like? What should be his character? What should be his character? How should he conduct himself? The word administration in Sanskrit translates to sasan, which comes from the root sas dhatu. So sas also has got many meanings. First one is sastra. Sastra. Sastra means one who has dedicated his life to restrain himself based on the words of the revealed scriptures. Who has dedicated his life. How do you restrain? How do you guide your life? Based on sastra. It can control. Sas dhatu means to control. So sastra, the first meaning is someone who has dedicated his life based on this wonderful transcendental sound vibration to regulate himself. The next sas, the word that comes is sishya, who has taken a vow to discipline himself based on a living example of a guru who embodies these principles. He's a sishya who has voluntarily agreed to discipline himself. Sastra, sishya, and sasana. Sasana means there has to be law and order. There has to be rules and regulations. There has to be principles. One has to abide by that. That is sasana. And then the fourth one is sastra. Sastra is weapons. If the first three are not working, then sastra, it is meant for animals. Human beings are supposed to be controlled by the first three. Tavasanam dvijagabham parameshtyam jagatpate bhavaya shreyasi bhutaya kshemaya vijayaya cha. Tavasanam dvijagabham. So he's telling authority or a person who is an administrator should first take care of dvija. Dvija is brahmanas, Vaishnavas. Tavasanam dvijagabham. Gabham is cows. That should be nice, favorable conditions, suitable environment for cows, for dvija, for brahmanas, because this knowledge need to be shared. That person will be the most unfortunate who doesn't know about it, who die in ignorance, and who didn't even get the opportunity to associate with the sadhus. So dvija. Tavasanam dvija gavaham. Parameshtyam jagatpate. Bhavaya. Bhavaya means that should be glory. Shreyase bhutaya. That should be nice products from bhumi, from earth. No contaminations. Nice products should come out. Bhavaya shreyase. Shreyase, ultimately beneficial for this person. Bhutaya, for all living entities. Shreyase bhutaya. Kshemaya vijayaya. Kshemaya vijayaya is telling opulence and good fortune. Brahminical culture, protection of cows can be increasingly glorified, and thus all kinds of material happiness, opulence, good fortune will automatically increase. But unfortunately, if Hiranyakashipu occupies your seat, everything will be lost. This was the fear of the demigods. Then what happens? Very interestingly, this whole episode of Narasimha killing Hiranyakashipu is so wonderful, so wonderful. There are many, many points that we can pick from there. So this is the verse where it is mentioned, Sa itham nirjita kakuba ekarada vishayan priyan yathopajasam bhunjano natrapahe dajitendriya. Look at the position of Hiranyakashipu after doing that 60,000 years of austerities. What power he had. So if he raises his one eyebrow, his right eyebrow, then the demigods used to fall down. And if he used to raise his left eyebrow, then the demigods' wives who were carrying, they will have miscarriage. Saitam nirjita kakuba eka rada vishayan priyan. Imagine the kind of control and power that he had. Everybody in this material world, what are they aspiring for? Should have full control, full power. I should dominate. There should be lording. I should be the lord of the whole universe. Everybody should listen to me. He had that. Saitam nirjita kakuba ekarada vishayan priyan. And yathopajasam bhunjano. And there was, you can think of any avenues for sense gratification, for your sense enjoyment, was available. People just dream sometimes. I wish I had whatever, some liquor or this or that. I just should have had so much of money that I could go for some vacation with some beautiful women, or for women it is men, and enjoy in some beach or vacation. He had everything. If he wants, the seasons to change, now I'm not liking, this is summer, but I don't like it now. It should become spring. It will be. If he wanted that based on punya, some people should go to hell, they will. If based on papa, somebody should go to heaven, yes, that will also happen. That much of power. One side he's having that much of power. Saitham nirjita kakuba ekarada vishayan priyan. And other side he has all the avenues for sense enjoyment. What a life it must be, isn't it? All people would be thinking, hey, Hiranyakashipu, my God. The power, the money, and the power and the sense enjoyment, both were there. But here lies the truth of Bhagavatam. Natraped ajitendriya, natraped. He was not satisfied. Ajitendriya, because his senses were disturbed. Natraped ajitendriya. People aspire to have power, to have money, and they think that with the money they can enjoy life. Biggest myth, biggest lie, the absolute false statement. Whoever thinks that with money he can change his life, where he can enjoy, the lie. Natrapyed ajitendriya. Natrapyed. He was not satisfied. There was a businessman who met Prabhupada in Gujarat. And he said, Prabhupada, I've got so many industries in Ankleshwar and Rajkot, in Surat, Ahmedabad. I'm so disturbed. I'm having so many issues, so many challenges in my mind is so disturbed. Prabhupada said, well, you give it to us. We will take care of that. So he said, no, Swamiji. It's not that bad. I'm going back and we can talk about it later on. So Prabhupada said, give me your address. We'll send someone to follow up with you. So that fellow never came. So this idea that if I have a lot of money, I'll be happy. Whole life people go around this mirage. I'll be happy, I'll be happy. Happiness doesn't lie in possessing the sense objects. No. Happiness lies by aligning ourselves with the will of the Lord. When we align ourselves with the will of the Lord, we'll be happy. Saitham nirjita kakuva ekarada vishayan priyan yatopajasam bhunjano natrapayada jitendriya. Very powerful verse. So what is the royal road to get heavily cursed? What things if you are doing in life, for sure you should know that you are going to get cursed. There are 3 things which Bhagavatam mentions in this episode. Evam aishwarya matasya driptasya sastra vartina uch sastra vartinaha kalo mahan vyatiyaya brahma sapam upeyushaha. Evam aishwarya mattasya. Aishwarya mattasya means deep involvement, deep indulgence in sense gratification. Aishwarya mattasya. Full fasting. The life, the only purpose of our existence is to gratify our senses to the maximum. Doesn't matter what constraints I have, doesn't matter what challenges, I will not give up. Aishwarya mattasya. Evam aishwarya mattasya. Driptasya. Driptasya means pride. Pride has to come. Aishwarya mattasya driptasya. I am kaun hai, main pata hai. Even devotees community. Driptasya. Main hi to kiya sab kuch. All sacrifices were done by me. Everything I am only doing. Driptasya. Uchshastra vartina. Giving up the scriptural injunctions. If anybody is doing these 3 things, Aishwarya mattasya, driptasya, Uchshastra vartina, you kalo mahan vyatiyaya brahma sapam upeyushaha. You are creating your royal this thing for being cursed. Brahma sapam upeyushaha. Brahma sapam. This is what happened to Hiranyakashipu. Aishwarya mattasya, driptasya, Uchshastra vartinaha. He did this. And there was terror all over. Everywhere people were terrified. He was torturing. He had power. He could do anything that he wanted. The demigods then became very, very scared. And like I mentioned before, the good thing about the demigods, good thing about people who are saintly, they seek advice. They don't try to figure it out amongst themselves and do something and create more confusion. It leads to all kinds of disturbances. So they went and asked Vishnu, So when they asked Vishnu, Vishnu spoke this verse, Yada deveshu vedeshu goshu vipreshu sadhusu dharme maicha vidvesha sava asu vinashyati. 6 things if somebody does, he is bound to perish. Yada deveshu, if somebody defies or disrespects deveshu, demigods who are representative of the Lord. Vedeshu, the Vedic scriptural injunctions, you disrespect that. Yada deveshu vedeshu, second, gosu, cows, kills, neglects, disrespects, gosu. Vipreshu, Vipreshu and sadhusu represents all the devotees and the Vaishnavas. The Brahminical culture is so rare and so important to maintain in this Kali Yuga, where people are becoming more and more atheistic. Their faith is dwindling, and there is predominant rise of Kali Yuga in the forms of sense enjoyment. Wherever you go, there are just bombardment of that. So Vipreshu sadhusu and dharme, religious principles, and last mai, and to me, cha vidvesha. Yada deveshu, vedeshu, deveshu demigods, vedeshu the scriptural injunctions, gosu, cows, vipreshu sadhusu, the Vaishnavas and the devotees, dharme, fifth, mai, and to me, cha vidvesha. Sava asu vinasyati, immediately asu vinashyati. He'll be perished, he'll be finished. This is what Vishnu told, and told them, have patience. Patience is a very virtuous key. Don't get agitated. If you don't have patience, if you're not patient in your devotional life, you'll become a patient in a hospital. So be patient. Right? Practice this with conviction. Utsaha, nischay, dhairya. Dhairya is required. So when one is envious of the demigods who represent the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vedas, which give all knowledge of the cows, Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, and religious principles, and ultimately of me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he and his civilization will be vanquished without delay. So this is the mentality of Hiranyakashipu, and the contrast to this is the description which is given of Prahlad Maharaj. Nirvairaya, he didn't have any enemy. Why? Because there is no attachment in the heart. Completely peaceful, completely calm. Nirvairaya, prasantaya. Prasantaya, completely pacified. Swasutaya Mahatmane, he's a Mahatma. Nirvairaya, prasantaya, swasutaya Mahatmane. Praharadaya yada druhyet. The moment Hiranyakashipu will, what do you call in Hindi, they say take panga. Praharadaya yada druhyet. The moment he will do any mischiefs with Prahlad, dhanishyepi parojitam. Doesn't matter how much of benedictions he has got, I will finish him. Dhanishyepi parojitam. Nirvairaya, prasantaya. Actually, somebody who's engaged in devotional service will have all this called nirvairaya. What enmity? With whom? Prasantaya, completely pacified, not agitation. Swasutaya Mahatmane, Praharadaya yada druhyet, dhanishyepi barorjitam. So, when Hiranyakashipu teases the great devotee Prahlad, his own son, who is peaceful and sober and who has no enmity, I shall kill Hiranyakashipu immediately, despite the benedictions of Brahma. Where did Prahlad get this kind of a composer, demeanor, conduct, character? How did he develop? It is because when he was in the womb of his mother, firm conviction in the words of his spiritual master, Narad Muni. So important. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur hardly would have met Prabhupada, but Prabhupada meditated on those instructions so nicely. Think, introspect and see, ask ourselves, ask yourself, how much are we serious about following the instructions of the spiritual master? Material success lies in your skills. How much of skill set you have? How much of resource you have? How much of resource mobilization you can do, and how much of skills you have? Spiritual success lies in this one thing, that one asset which Prabhupada had. What is that asset? The firm conviction in the words of his spiritual master, which is coming through the parampara. That parampara sabda, if you have firm conviction, that becomes your biggest asset, which Prahlad had. Prahlad got it from Narad Maharaj. And that's why this verse of Bhagavatam is telling, when Hiranyakashipu teases the great devotee Prahlad, his own son, who's peaceful and sober and who has no enemy, I shall kill Hiranyakashipu immediately, despite the benedictions of Brahma. In Ramayana, in Yuddhakand, there is a verse which comes spoken by Bibhishan. So Bibhishan is telling, Nivedayat mam kshipram raghavaya mahatmane sarvaloka sharanaya Bibhishanam upasthitam. Sarvaloka sharanaya Bibhishanam upasthitam. When Bibhishan left the camp of Ravana and crossed the ocean to come to Ram, there were monkeys like Hanuman and others, little skeptical. After all, he's a demon. We don't know what his intention is. We should be careful. We shouldn't allow him. And what is going on inside Bibhishan? He's expressing it in these words. Nivedayat mam kshipram raghavaya mahatmane sarvaloka sharanaya vibhishanam upasthitam. He's telling, oh Raghav, oh surrender of the entire universe, sarva saranaya, sarvaloka sharanaya, kshipram mam nivedayat mam kshipram raghavaya mahatmane. Oh Lord Ramachandra, please immediately accept me. Because the biggest problem that we have, and the biggest jewel that we have, is our own free will. This free will to surrender to the Lord doesn't come easily. No, not easy. And Bibhishan is taking a humble position and saying, I am a demon. I am born in the family of demons. The demoniac blood is running through my veins and arteries. Oh Raghav, before the time changes my mind, before something else happens, please surrender. Please take me. Nivedayat mam kshipram raghavaya mahatmane. This is why that desire, if it comes inside us, because actually we have no idea how the devotees, when they come in our life, unknowingly, when we are suffering, going through some disease, we don't even realize that they have given us the medicine, and by that medicine we have been cured. We don't realize. So when that desire comes somehow in the heart, like that desire of Prahlad, that small flame or light which is burning, before it gets extinguished, you should come in the association of devotees, ensure that it becomes a flame. Surrender to Krishna. This is what the life is. Nivedayad mam kshipram raghavaya mahatmane sarvaloka sharanaya vibhishanam upasthitam. So, we don't have a lot of time, so I'll go to the main thing. Then what happened? There are so many wonderful verses of Bhagavatam. If you are really Rasika, you just can't, sit without relishing these verses, especially the prayers of Prahlad. What wonderful prayers he has expressed. How fearless he was in front of the mighty Hiranyakashipu. So when, this verbal duel which was happening between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad, who's the source of your energy? Where are you getting this courage and conviction to speak to me like this? He said, it is the same source where you are getting your strength, the same source, it is coming from me. Where is he? Is he there in this pillar? Is he there in this pillar? Where is he? Is he there in this pillar? Prahlad says, yes, very much. Hiranyakashipu goes and knocks that pillar. Last year we had the play, the drama, right? Who was Narasimha Dev? You have Bhima, okay. So, we also had a play long back. It's a very important point, pay attention to this. Where is our Sukirti Prabhu? So he's not there, okay, somewhere. He was Narasimha Dev. You were also Narasimha Prabhu once? No, you were Kaji, Chand Kaji, on whom he was. The biggest problem of Narasimha Dev, because you were wearing that wig, so it was very difficult to see. Everything is there. And that too, you have to hide behind the pillar. Right? And somebody has to hit, you don't know, hit kiya ki nahi kiya. Sometimes it doesn't break, so you have to break it yourself and come out. Right? Imagine doing the part of just playing the role of Narasimha Dev, how difficult it is. With all that, wig and all, whatever, it is so difficult. Think now, really, the Supreme Lord, The most powerful person who's filled with 6 opulences is agreeing to come as half man, half lion. How kind and compassionate that Lord must be. Just to keep the words of his devotees, just to protect the words of his devotees, just to ensure that the words of his devotees are true. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Came out of the pillar. When he came out as when he came as a baraha, as a hog, as a pig, the what do you call this demon Hiranyaksha, when he looked at him, the Lord, he's telling, Vanagochara. This looks like some jungly fellow. This is the exact meaning, jungli, Vanagochara. And when Hiranyakashipu saw this form, which is not seen, never heard of before, who's this creature? See the point of view of Hiranyakashipu, but look at the point of view of the Lord. How compassionate he is. Satyam vidhatum nijavritya bhasitam. See, this verse is Satyam vidhatum nijavritya bhasitam. Vyaptim cha bhuteshu akhileshu chatmanaha. Adrishya ati adbhuta rupam. Udbahan stambhe sabhayam. Na mrigam na manusam. Mrigam means an animal. Na mrigam, because the earlier Hiranyakashipu remembered that his brother was killed by that pig or hog. So na mrigam. So he had asked for a benediction. It was not a mrigam, not an animal. Na manusam. It is not also a human being. Stambhe sabhayam na mrigam na manusam. That pillar broke upon. Hiranyakashipu came. Satyam vidhatum nijavritya bhasitam. In one pastime of the Lord, how many things he is covering. How many things. You see, Brahma's benediction, all kept intact. Narad Muni's this thing, that your son is a great devotee, and whatever, all protection will come to your great devotee, is also kept intact. Whatever this fellow wanted, that nobody should kill me like this, that, whatever he had asked, all kept intact, and he came. Satyam vidhatum nijavritya bhasitam. To prove that the statement of his servant Prahlad Maharaj was substantial. In other words, to prove that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere. The Lord is present everywhere. Even within the pillar of an assembly hall. Actually, there can be so many things which I can say, but just pay this one critical thing, remember. The same Lord is also present in our heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridde se arjuna tishtati. He's there, directly here, inside this heart. Still the atheistic people, agnostic people, skeptical people, the so-called scientists, the so-called philosophers will say, Kai, dikhao. He's there. He's there. If we call Satyam vidhatum nijavritya bhasitam, if we humbly pray, this is the time, 8:26, another 4 minutes actually, as per the moment, Tithi, when Lord appeared, broke open that pillar and he came out. The Lord will guide us. He will give us the intelligence by which we can go. The problem is, like Hiranyakashipu had that the stone-like chest, right? Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Ladha Daine Hiranyakashipur Bhaksha Shilatanka Nakhala. Shila. Shila is like a stone on which you can't even draw a line. We also have a stone-like chest which is made up of our big false ego. Big time. That false ego-like chest has to be torn apart. How it will be torn apart? What is the method? Like Narasimha, they've used his chisel-like nails. Similarly, we have to remember to follow. We have to remember to follow the instruction of devotees. That is where the false ego will get crushed. No other way. It always stays with us. When we humbly accept, submit to follow the instructions, adapt immediately. Not that, okay, some service has come, you're asking for service, when the service actually comes, this service, Prabhu, there are so many other people, no? New people are coming to our temple, so many other people. Why me? No. When we accept those instructions of a devotee, when we have a desire to please the devotees. Ultimately, what it is, it's a mission of Srila Prabhupada, the pure devotee. It's not about anybody else. That humility, when we develop, Lord manifests. It's a very beautiful example. Maybe in just 2 minutes, 3 minutes, we'll close. When Prabhupada, after establishing the temples in the US, had taken some of his Western devotees to India, and there was a Pandal program which was happening in Cross Maidan in Mumbai. How many of you are from Mumbai? Anybody? Nobody? Okay, Prabhupada stayed. Yeah, some of you are there. So, those days, our, what is his name? Shyam Sundar Prabhu, Sam Spestra. So Shyam Sundar Prabhu was given that assignment of conducting this Pandal program in Cross Maidan. Hardly 24, 25. But you see this. See what I'm trying to drive from this. 24, 25, had no idea. Maybe had some experience of driving a car in the US. Now, he's in India. He's trying to organize this. Was driving a car by a life member. Mind you, this is India. This is a Western devotee. Whatever, he's used to left-hand drive and all those things. He's driving a car in India, in Mumbai, that too in Kalwa, what is that? Kalka Devi. There's Kalwa Devi. In that Kalwa Devi area. Probably one of the busiest streets you can think of. Okay, he's driving, and as you can expect, what happened? He hit a cycle wala. A cycle wala has fallen there. And this fellow in his heart, like heart race is beating and what to do now, he's thinking. His windows are all up, and he's thinking, I should not. And there's a big crowd which have gathered over there. You know what happened when they gathered over there? They started beating the rickshawala, the cycle fellow. So he's thinking in his mind, maybe in India they start with that person first. Then they'll come to me. First they'll give the quota to him, then it'll come to me. So after some time, he found out that there was somebody who was able to speak English. So he, lowered his window, the glass, and he asked him, actually, I was at fault, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do, and something like that. He was trying to speak. He said, no. You are an Englishman. You are having Vaishnav tilak. You are wearing dhoti kurta. How can you do any mistake? See the transformation which Prabhupada has brought. How much of respect this person has got. Just because he is humble to follow the instructions of a pure devotee. Satyam vidhatum nijavritya bhasitam. Prabhupada's instructions are not false. Krishna's instructions are not false. If we take it seriously in our life, Hiranyakashipu, like this false ego in our heart, will vanish, will get destroyed. And we will have darshan of the Lord face to face. With one last thing, I'll close. You asked me about my profile photo, right? On WhatsApp. That's the deity called Radharaman. And those of you who do not know, you are asking me who the deity is. Radharaman's manifestation date is tomorrow. Gopal Bhatt Goswami, on the day of Narasimha Jayanti, prayed intensely, very intensely. I want one deity. I want a deity whom I can worship. Narasimha, the Lord appeared as Radharaman, the beautiful deity of Radharaman. The Lord never ever disappoints us. Never. I need to develop that strong conviction. I am from Jagannath Puri. There is one story. How many of you have been to Puri? Okay. How many of you have had a laddu or a sweet called, you know that, what? It's called Narasimha laddu. Nobody would have had. I'll tell you what is the story behind this. There is the Narasimha in Jagannath Puri, they offer Chappan Bhog. Right? 56 times. So during the Raj Bhog, one day, sometimes some people develop some strange desire that I should do something different for the Lord. The cook or the pujari thought, I should do something for the Lord, something special, something different. So apparently he had some reciprocation with the Lord, and Lord said something made out of jaggery will be very nice. Now Matajis and I mean those of you who make some sweets out of jaggeries, there are varieties of jaggeries. And if the proportion is little this thing, like sometimes you have the Yagyan Pongal which will be so sticky and thick. Intention is all good, but it's just so hard to remove and put it. But sometimes it will be so butter-like smooth. You just take it and pour it, right? So this person had not so much of understanding and knowledge about different jaggeries, and he made some laddu. That laddu turned out to be like a stone ball. So it's very hard. He felt that. But now he has made what to do, and he was thinking of the Lord, and he has made it. So along with Chappan Bhog, this laddu was also kept. And to his good or bad fortune, whatever you want to say, the king of Puri also visited that time to have darshan of the Lord. So somebody said, Maharaj, after all he is Maharaj, there's a Rajbhog which is offered, would you like to have something? No, I'm busy, I have to go. Something little. Like we also say, no, something. Finally what comes up, a little sweet, one sweet. I said, okay. So they said, okay, what one laddu was there? They gave it to him, the laddu. So this Maharaj took this laddu and he went to his palace, and in front of all his ministers, he was about to have his lunch. So like many of us, we keep the laddu towards the end. After everything is done, then I'll have the dessert. So he had everything, and then he took that laddu and he took a bite. He had one tooth which was actually a little problematic. So when he took out that laddu from his mouth, the tooth went inside that laddu. So he kept it, and bleeding is also happening. Everybody saw it. Everybody wants to laugh, but it is a king, right? Nobody is able to laugh. So what to do? King got so furious, angry. Who is this man who has done this? He said, whoever it is, just put him behind the bars. This fellow, poor fellow, didn't know he had made, and he wanted to see what prasadam is there, wanted to taste it. By the time he realized that laddu is not there, and he's put behind the bars. So then he prayed to Jagannath, saying that, Lord Jagannath, I made whatever I could from my heart with the instructions which you gave, something made out of jaggery I tried, but I am behind the bars. In that night, Lord appeared in the dreams of this king. And he said, how dare you, you rascal, whatever Prabhupada's word, you put my devotee behind the bars? Release him immediately. Go and bow down before him. He said, Arey, banaya stone like laddu, I put him behind the bars, my tooth bhi gaya. Now my respect also will be gone, I have to go and bow down before him. He said, why? How? He said, I agree that he has made a stone like laddu, but I as Narasimha have got teeth which can digest that, which can break that. That is why the name of that laddu is called Narasimha laddu, which is still there. And what the devotees do is, what the pandas do there, they make that laddu and with a hammer they break it. And you get powder of that, which you can get it now also. What I am trying to say is, Satyam Vidhatum Nijavritya Bhasitam. In devotees' words, the Lord protects, come what may. He goes to any extent. He doesn't mind coming as a half man, half lion from a pillar. For the Lord, what need is there? Just to ensure the words of his devotees come true. So if Lord is paying so much this thing for a devotee's words, why not we? Why not? So on this auspicious day, when this I have already shared in the morning, this prayer that I was having. On this auspicious day, pray to Lord Narasimha Dev. Enough, I have lived life godlessly. Enough, I have disobeyed. I have lived life independently, whimsically. Let me, O Narasimha Dev, let me come to my senses. Please remove this chest-like false ego which I have, and let the Lord manifest. How does he manifest? What does he do? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena maam upayanti te tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Somebody engages in devotional service to the Lord, he gives the intelligence from within by which we can go back to him. We'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki, Narasimha Dev Bhagavan ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.